So it's cool you won. I think for me, this proves an amazing point because you're literally doing exactly what I want you to do, and you're fucking up pretty massively. And did you notice anything about that game that was different from your games, other than me screaming at you?
Honestly, I am so focused on what you're telling me that I am almost not looking at the game at large at all. So the only difference I noticed was that I was maybe joining in team fights, starting in initiation, more, just those small things, but not anything
Okay.
big.
So this is the kind of stuff people may not see if they're not looking for it. But every fight started with you clearing a wave and TPing somewhere, or the
Mm.
opponent chasing you. Every single fight. Do you not remember that? I was
Not
like
every single
eight.
fight, but some
I'm
of them.
saying it was like 80% of fights were them chasing you somewhere or reacting to
Yeah.
something you did and then you going somewhere. Like every
Yeah,
single one.
yeah.
So the whole point of Dota is the team that pushes waves better will take good fights. It happens in every bracket. I don't care what fucking bracket you play it in. Your team got handed the easiest fights ever because you're just like pushing lanes and then they're running at you with Razor all the way from tier 1 tower to tier 2 top. Like they're chasing you because they're pissed. Like you don't understand how annoying you were from the other team's perspective. Imagine seeing the enemy mid show up top, clear 2 waves, and you're like, let's get him. And then suddenly he's doing the same thing bottom. And you're like, now let's go get him. And then you're top by the time they get there again. And it's like, what the fuck? And then they just die because they're separated and they're confused. And it's these 1 AK players trying to react to your map movements. And it's like, what? They can't do this. So that's why even though you lost at the beginning, the opponent looked like they were doing some stupid ass shit, and all of it was just them chasing you. That's all it was. And the thing is that, like, if I were to do this, I would have just not died, you know? But, like, the fact is your plan gets delayed, you know, by 20 minutes, 15 minutes because of the map momentum you lost. But we're going to focus on a couple big things here to take away for the viewers. I'll probably highlight a few big ones. It'll be more so specifically about this game, things that you can learn. So I'm going to show you, since it's almost like you're a spectator of this game as well.
Banana slam jam.
This is going to be more so me talking, but if you have any, like, I don't get what you're saying questions, feel free, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to introduce this topic to you guys. At the very beginning of this lane, I told you that Razor is very annoying for your hero. We need a lot of defensive creep aggro, and we want to avoid him at all costs. I said that, and it's something that you guys need to assess to the best of your capabilities every single game. How much are you planning to interact with the opponent? I'm not going to go into depth about why Razor counters Void Spirit, but the link is just super frustrating for you. So everything I told you in the first 6 minutes was to avoid the Razor. That was all I was trying to do. I said to you at the very start, if people need video proof, that our goal is to only interact with him if we plan to kill him, otherwise get the fuck away from him. That was the entire intent. So I'm going to fast forward real quick. So Razor luckily died at the start, and I said, clear this wave. Clear, clear, clear. Clear, clear, clear. And I'm like, clear the range creep before he gets back. So this is a great little bonus that he gave you, which allowed you to avoid him, right? You're going to go try to D-ward. You're going to miss it. That's life. Looks like it was over here. But notice what happens when you push the wave into his tower. When you're against a hero that you don't want to lane against, you don't want the lane to sit right here. It sucks. Literally, you just can't see us. Anytime the lane was here, if you watch this game back, it sucked. So by pushing the lane into his tower, your next creep wave is going to go into his tower. And then his creep wave is going to go back into you. And I told you it was fine to get lane because he missed CS for it. But notice how now you're CSing under tower again. You're literally playing the dodge game by, in the mid lane, slingshotting the lane back and forth. It just keeps going into your tower. Here I said defensively creep aggro. Your defensive creep aggro usage was just bad. That's fine. I told you to do it. This could be repeated by you in any bad matchup. You're dealing with any bad matchup. You shove the lane into their tower as best as you can. You pull the lane back into yours 2 lane creep waves later, and it just keeps going back and forth. It keeps going. Like, we can fast forward through this, and it's going to just keep going from your tower to his. Back and forth. See how there's so many creeps for you? Back into his tower it goes, people. Back into it goes. You even try to go for an aggressive play. Well, guess what this creep wave is going to do? It's going to slingshot back into your tower. Here we go. You only missed 1 creep for both runes there. Because we're shoving in the lane. Look at how much you've interacted with Razor. I'm like, defensive aggro, defensive aggro, defensive aggro. You know, just don't interact with this guy because you don't want to. It doesn't benefit you. So you even went for the... I thought this might have even been a mistake. You could have just gone 0-2-2. So notice how you push in the lane, but the Razor's been doing a bit better job of, like, killing off his own creeps so that you don't get as much out of it. I told you to just kill this wave as fast as possible. Notice how all the time spent here is not good for you. You go pick up the rune. The entire game plan, the first 6 minutes, was just avoid this fucker. So right now, this is what I look at, okay? I see this, and I say, what now? What has changed between now and the first 4 minutes? And what I see is a wave that's on his hill. What are you supposed to do about it? The answer is absolutely fucking nothing. You're done here. It's a shit matchup. So something that you could learn from this is that notice how much you were walking around? This could have been boots, probably. You know, I was telling you about your items, but you were walking around a lot. This could have probably been boots and then null talisman. So then what proceeds here is that this whole time you've been slingshotting the lane back and forth. Now the lane's on his hill. We can't go back. That's life. You know, it's just a bad matchup. This is the approach in almost every bad mid lane matchup. Oh, shit. The lane looks like this. I'm done here. Every other time, this got pushed into his tower. So if these creeps went into his tower, you could plan to go back to lane after this camp. So I, knowing that I've been in this spot before, know that your role here is done. There's nothing better for you to do here. So what do we do when that happens? We walk at the closest lane or we jungle. Kind of depends on what hero we're playing. If you're playing like a Viper or like a Batrider or a TA or a Storm, you jungle. You're playing Void Spirit, you don't jungle because you jungle very slowly, right? So we kill the small camp because like most mid laners can do this. And then I told you to walk bottom. Why? There's just simply nothing better to do. You know, meanwhile, while you're walking bottom, just look at the mid lane. This is what's going to happen eventually. The guy's going to get bored. He's going to have to go do something himself and push it back into your tower. So I was trying to tell you to monitor mid lane. And right now, this is what's going to happen, though. When you're in a bad matchup and you're playing like this, guess what? Not your fault. Just how it is. You're level 5.5. He's level 6. Don't let him fucking kill you, please. Just don't let him kill you, man. Just get the XP, man. Fuck. Don't let him kill you here, please.
I like to say that I would have lived if I just based.
What do you mean?
You got me killed, BSJ.
No. You don't base. You go fucking this way. You just go this way. Okay. You run away from him, not, you know what I'm saying? You got to get this XP, dude. You don't give up this many creeps. You get XP. Watch any mid laner, man. You died because you walked this way.
What's XP range?
1,200 or maybe 15. Okay. I actually don't know. I just know it by feel, not by actual range.
Massive.
So this death killed you, right? Like literally killed you. But now he's like a level and a half ahead of you. But okay, so we're gonna fast forward. The whole learning point here was that you were avoiding him, and you're gonna end up in a spot where you return to lane and he's higher level than you. Just get the XP, dude. All you need as a mid is the XP. Just get level 6 and like you're good. I needed you to not die there. That's gonna happen in almost every game you play in unfavorable matchup. Just don't fucking die right there. Just don't die. You're gonna be like level 5.5 because you weathered the storm, and then you're gonna die if you do something stupid. So now we saw that he went top. I'm gonna fast forward. This is for the sake of education here. Anytime he's... Go ahead.
So I watched a video playing against unfavorable matchups that you made, and one thing I learned from it was that static link has a long cooldown, and I can just play in the lane when that's not on cooldown, but otherwise have to leave. But in this situation, you were telling me just to... I never wanted to be in this lane ever, even when that's not on cooldown.
So the thing is that if you can identify the small windows where it's off cooldown, you can clear like 2 creeps. Okay, like you can go clear the 2 or 3 creeps if you find those windows. It was really hard for me to tell you exactly how to dodge them because if I tell you to go back in the lane and the static link comes up, you're not going to handle it properly. So I personally told you just to avoid lane. So I'm telling you to go to extremes in this specific game. There was probably a few times that you could have walked up and cleared a creep or 2 before his static link came off cooldown. But, like, that's kind of up to you. It's like, yes, the reason you're not returning to lane is static link. But, like, the whole idea is I was trying to get you to go to the most extremes to avoid this fucker. And even though you died to him, you know, you're level 7.5 and he's level 8.5. So it's like, even though you died solo to this guy, you're only down by a level in a bad matchup. You died solo in a bad matchup and you're still only down by 1 level, which is, like, way better than it could be. So you get the DD, and we saw Razor bottom. So anytime the guy that we're against that counters us is doing this kind of shit, we got to do this kind of shit. We got to make him come back. At this point, your goal is to avoid Razor, but to make him find you. Make him follow you. Because guess what? You're the second strongest hero on the map. Yes, you're way weaker than the strongest, but you're still the second strongest, which means that you need to dictate his movements because he doesn't want you to dictate his teammates' movements. Does that make sense? That whole concept there? Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't want the second strongest guy to exude strength on the map. He want, like, innately, he's going to try to shut you down if you make him, right? So now we got to make him. We got to do things that matter to him, like pushing his tower with a DD, right? Like, this is
And
kind of
that's
stuff.
true in any matchup. When
Yeah.
you're down, right? The mid laner's going to try to find you.
Exactly. But your goal is to avoid him while also making him chase you. That's like the two things you got to do. So we see Razor doing this, and I told you all of your movements now are going to be dictated by Razor. So anything you mess up, it's because you go too close to Razor. So like here, why am I seeing you walk right? Just walk left. Just walk left.
I
This
suppose
guy.
because I don't know what's top, and I don't know if there's vision there, so I'm just trying to get...
What about you are the second strongest guy on the map, just avoid the strongest is not clear at this point, right? Like, just do that. Like, the point is, if you can identify the strength of heroes, you don't care about vision and shit. You know you're the second strongest guy on the map, so just avoid this guy. He's here.
Yeah.
Just go left.
Yeah, but
This is the part
Disruptor
where I
plus one
said,
could still kill me, right?
I'll let specific scenarios like that happen to you enough, because in your bracket, you're going to die to the one guy that's stronger to you, like last time. You died to the
Okay.
one Ricky. Remember that? You didn't die to four
Right.
heroes. You died to Ricky. I need
Okay,
you
that's
to
fair.
avoid the one guy that is stronger than you and worry about the combinations of 2 or 3 heroes that have to perfectly coordinate when you get to like 5k. You can do that. Okay? Like, just look at this guy. If you're the strongest guy, follow this guy. If you're the second strongest guy, avoid this guy. So what happened in this game was I kept telling you to retreat, and you kept retreating towards the Razor. And I was like, I don't know how to explain this in the middle of the game, but stop retreating towards the Razor. So like you pick up this bounty and you run left, right? So here's you go left. I end up telling you to go top anyway. I said just go left. Perfect. And you end up walking behind these two weak ass fucks because you're still the second strongest hero on the map. And now we just have to walk back towards mid. Sucks we lost our courier, so we're kind of like low on resources. And this is a spot where you're kind of doing the same thing you were doing when you were level 5. Just don't die. Just get some XP. This is like your minimal time spent in mid lane, but if you don't do this, you kind of lose your tower. You know what I mean? So, same thing here. You got the rune, which is great. And you're going to get some XP
Static.
and lose your tower. This is like perfectly acceptable stuff. Like, what are you supposed to do about this? And then your Shadow Shaman comes mid. And he didn't use this. And honestly, could have been worse. I'm going to fast forward here for the sake of, Strider, you can skip all this stuff. And Razor actually overextends into you. Great. That's very cool of him. He kind of threw you the game back. So, I'm going to fast forward real quick. So here I tell you, once again, you are the second strongest guy on the map. So if you see somebody that's not as strong as you by themselves, fuck them up. So remember how every time you tried to show on a creep wave, what Razor did to you? Right? Remember that?
Right. Yeah.
That's what you need to do to everyone that's below you on the totem pole. That's Dota. Everyone who's below you on the totem pole doesn't get to show in creep waves. Especially when you're like a mobile kill hero. Like just kill them. At the very least, just push them away. Did Razor ever always kill you? No, he would just push you away. And it was really annoying. I'm sure you were really annoyed by it. It's a super frustrating thing to deal with. So we pick up their bounty rune. Razor was mid. So he's going to chase you again. Get away from him. But guess
Did I
what?
pass the wrong way?
No, so this is fine. The reason why this is fine is because you want to go pick up this creep wave. Like, you're wanting to go farm mid again. Notice what's happening. Like, this wave's going to come here. So your path is actually to get to here. So the beauty of what's happening here is Razor is stronger than you, and you're both doing nothing. You see this? The reason why this is fine is because you're still heading towards your destination. And the other one, the creep wave was shoved into his tower. Like, if we rewound to the... I believe there's a 6-minute or 9-minute bounty rune. There's nothing for you here. You see this?
Yeah.
So not only are you retreating towards the Razor, but this isn't the situation you're trying to return to. The only time you've ever returned mid was when the lane was shoving into you. That's the only time that I've ever told you to return mid. So notice the difference between this one and the last one, right? So you return mid, and because you made him chase you, but you still got to your objective, it's great. And your team's allowed to make plays on the map despite Razor being the strongest hero in the game. And that's exactly what your goal was, you know? Enable your team to make plays without you. When I lose mid, I usually try to enable my team to not have to deal with the other guy. That's like my goal. So here was a choice where you could show up to this fight. I think it might have been okay, but I will always prefer to do this. Like in your bracket, I'm telling you, man. If you do this 100% of the time, it's almost always better. But like in my bracket, I probably would have told the mid to show up to this. Sadly, you do end up showing late. The reason why you do what you do is because you get farm, you create space for your team by pushing a tower, and then if the fight's still going on like it is here, you can clean up and then get solo kills. This is like perfect for you. You went like kill farm, bounty rune, farm, bounty rune, farm, solo kill. That's like the perfect recovery mechanism for like a mid laner. Obviously, and then you just fucking botch it. But that's life. Shit happens.
Yeah. That was so fucking terrible.
Yep,
Jesus.
that's life, man.
Watching it back is just so
Yeah, man.
bad. Oh, God. The thing is, I should know the Yule's timing because I buy Yule's all the time. Oh, God. This is so painful.
Okay. So, the cool thing is all of your items have actually accelerated you, though. Because we're going for this Kaya-san shit. All your items make you do more damage. They make you farm faster. And so this was one where I told you to run top. And if you're pathing by running top, when you look like this, and the guys you're running at look like this, looks like this? Dude, run like this, man. Fucking swarm these fucks, man. You're so strong. Look at, like, compare yourself to the people you're... Like, what do you mean it's spooky?
I have no vision.
The guys that you're running at have 5 HP, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just telling you, like, what I'd be thinking. That's why I didn't go through the triangle.
I'm saying that, like, I'm just telling you, like, I understand why you did it, you know, out of, like, whatever, ignorance or lack of awareness, whatever. But looking at this, man, if I tell you to run top, the point is gauge the strength of the people you're running at. It's like, are we kind of approaching this cautiously? Like, am I willing to fight here, but it's like pins and needles? Or is it this?
Right, yeah.
And
definitely,
like, you know, and so we'll actually pause and I'll tell Strider, this is what we're going to talk about. So I'm telling you to connect to fights when you see them happening. And when you're going from a fight that's occurring top and you're coming from mid, it's a very important thing at any bracket of Dota of which path you take to get there. It's a gradient where this path through the river, like above Roche, is about as safe as it gets. And like cutting through their triangle, wrapping behind them, behind their tier 2, would be about the most aggressive. Anything in between is slightly less aggressive, you know, as you go towards this area. So like this is slightly more aggressive than this. This is slightly more aggressive than this. And all you're gauging is the people you're running at. How weak are they? Are you like joining a fight reluctantly? Are you joining a fight cautiously? Or are you running at people that are just going to die if you look at them funny? And so in your game here, the issue I had with you connecting to the fight was that you took a really passive path when these guys were super weak, and you actually missed a kill on PA, who ended up rotating through. Really, Colin? She just dumped a massive bucket of ice. Okay, so I'll rewind real quick. So you end up missing a kill on PA because you took this path where you'd be about right here when PA's retreating. And you end up barely missing a kill. Okay, learning point done. We do end up getting a kill on Razor, though, which is cool. Not a part of the educational lesson, though. Okay. So, I'll actually include this.
Bounty.
Lesson to move on from here. So even though we missed the kill on PA, we do end up getting a kill on Razor shortly after. However, in Dota, whenever you make a move towards one part of the map, the enemy team is always going to go there, almost always, and that also means the other lanes have not been maintained. So something that a lot of low MMR players will do is stick around way longer than they should. So for you, you complete this kill top at 14:45. You stay as long as you feel like you need to. So in this case, there's a bounty rune spawning in 15 seconds. And that's your go-ahead to get the fuck out of here. Any time else that you spend here is giving the opponent all of this time to set up a fight on you. When you're a mobile hero like Void Spirit, you get to pick and choose your fights carefully. Don't go somewhere and then sit there for 30 seconds and then fight again. So even though you get this bounty rune, I tell you to leave, but your team, like a bunch of low-skill 1Ks, is going to stick around and then die to the enemy team who's obviously all here now. So I'm telling you to kind of kite the map. I'm telling you that if you do what you did here, where you chase the PA, you kill the Razor, you have forced the entire enemy team to be in this area. It will always be this way. Very few exceptions. So what we do with that is we take whatever objective we plundered, we plundered a bounty rune from them, and then we go right back the opposite way. We're doing it again. So now there's a fight happening here that has no business happening. You're going to run bottom. And this is a situation where I told you to clear this wave, and Razor goes on you. So the emphasis about this when I said clear the wave, what do you think is wrong? I'm actually going to ask you, cut this Strider. What do you think is wrong with this when I tell you to cut the wave and run away from Razor?
I mean, there's not much of a wave. Oh, cut the wave so I get the next one?
Yeah, I said clear the wave. And so based on
Okay.
timers and your own, to get higher skill, you would know there's a wave here. So what do you think is wrong with this?
I should astral step toward that creep wave?
Yeah! Stop going backwards. Go away from the guy. Do you see the difference? When I tell people to run, they always run backwards. You are no exception. Guys, stop retreating to your base. That's not how Dota works. You retreat from the guy that you're running from. So if he's standing over here, and your objective is here, the reason you're here is to clear a wave. Ignore this fuck. Your Spectre's Haunt was just bad. I would just, if I were in a game, I'd be like, I don't know what the Spectre's doing, and I would just clear this wave. Okay? So the whole point is you have an objective. This guy's just trying to stop you. Don't let him do that. And then you end up dying, but honestly, could have been worse in terms of the Razor ends up dying. Okay. So now, you're dead. We kind of have to reset the map a little bit. So I told you... Okay. So when you die, we kind of got to get the map in our favor again. You kind of have to, take a step back and say, now that we were just done dictating their movements, we have to respond to something they're doing. So I immediately respond to, the first thing that I see them doing. So right now, when you're respawning, I saw the Disruptor and PA pushing top. And I'm like, well, they're not allowed to push top now that you're alive. So let's be a little bit stealthy, and if Disruptor shows them still, fuck them up. And that's exactly what you did. The point is that your movements throughout this last 3 minutes were dictating them to respond to you. But the death forces you to respond to them. And this time around, I told you the same thing, where if Razor shows up, be careful, because he's going to try to stop you again. Here he is. But we end up getting a kill where Razor just going ham. His team's not coordinated at all. Legion left. Ogre's mid, going to Midas. And this is fantastic. This sequence right here. You guys get the kill on Razor. You push a creep wave. And I say, what the fuck is this PA doing? What you effectively did here was exactly what you did here. You made a move. You killed a guy. You took an objective, which this one was a bounty rune. This one was a creep wave. And then they came and chased after you. And the enemy team will do this all the time. So you force reactions, and then you GTFO. So that's what you're going to do. I told you to just leave. It's very predictable when you make aggressive plays like this, that suddenly there's just 4 enemy heroes here. Okay? This happens all the time. So I told you to do exactly what you did 3 minutes ago, again. I think it was about 4 minutes ago, where you just farm your way away from them, right? You clear mid, you walk towards bottom, And the thing about Dota is the enemy team is physically limited. If they TP'd 2 or 3 heroes here, they can't possibly bring 3 or 4 heroes here. It's just not possible. So with that in mind, by you doing this move where you force reactions and then just walk away, you are now on a spot of the map where if one of them is alone, you kill them or you free farm. There's no other option. They can't do anything about it. So that's why that forced reaction is so important. And a lot of players do that part, but they don't do the walk across the map and do it again play. So now we're walking across the map. I'm telling you to be like kind of efficient with the jungle camps while you're on your way because we didn't know where they were. They're going to show themselves mid with Razor, so I tell you to go bottom. You know, you got to approach creep waves a bit carefully. And guess what? They're going to respond to you again, and I told you to run away. Do we see a common problem here? I told you to run away. Just go left. Oh, it's funny as fuck. You're gonna have to conceptualize your idea of running.
That's honestly gonna be super hard to train, just because you just like base instincts when like you're like afraid, and
yeah.
So I'm gonna have to really work on that.
Yeah. So this for you is you need to recognize what goes through your head when you think of running, and you need to like remember every time you mess it up that you were supposed to run away from the guy that scared you.
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever direction he was covering, you go the other way. Okay? And it's a really big... They killed you 3 times, I think, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, like, in the other one, where he chased you all the way over here, the first death you had, I wanted you to just run away. To stay on the map. Don't leave the objectives behind. You know, I don't want you to leave this creep wave here. I didn't want you to leave this creep wave down here. I don't want you to lose your, like, position on the map by, like... You know what I mean? All these times are you doing something where the enemy team's like, I don't want him to do that. And then you just ran towards your base every time. Which, where do you think they want to chase you? They want to chase you towards your base. Because that means they've, like, locked you in. You know what I mean? So don't give them what they want. But in this case, you forced out a lot of ults. And remember what happened last time you died. Last time you died, I said now the map control is reset. You now have to respond to whatever they're doing, right? So I said, well, they're weak. They use Disruptor ulti, duel, and you're all respawning, and you have Haunt. Fuck them up. And so we responded again. And I told you to TP super aggressively, but you TP'd here. So the cool thing about this is a moment where you're supposed to double Astral Step right now. Because when you start this fight, you want the opponent to be reacting to what you're doing, but not be able to kill you. Okay? So you need to get yourself the fuck in there with double Astral Step and then like run back towards your team. And even if they kill you, they're fucked. Do you see that? Like, what are they going to do? You just took like 30 or 70% of their HP, you know? So in these type of spots, whoever's the guy that jumps in first is usually the one that dies. So like if you were like an Axe off lane, you would die. But what this did was you made space for your team by going in first on an opponent that wasn't strong enough to take the objective they were pushing, and now they're running away. You know? And this will happen a lot. You're the guy that goes in first, and you're sacrificing yourself for the greater good. Okay? And if you can do this with living, man, you own, right? If like you can do exactly that job while living, you're a god. So, okay. So we have fixed both of our deaths. So the negative impact of your deaths has been neutralized. Thank you, Kali. So the cool thing about this is, if this was a very straightforward, like the enemy team tried to take an objective off of your death, kill them. If they don't try to take an objective, that means that they pushed the creep waves into you and didn't go for the push, okay? So at that point, the way to reestablish map control is to just push out the lanes that they pushed into you, okay? The whole point of map control is whatever team is pushing the lanes is dictating the movements of the other team. Notice every time you've pushed lanes, they've chased you, right? Every time they've tried to take a tower, you chase them. And that's how map control in Dota works. So I'm going to fast forward real quick. So I tell you to go bots. This allows you to accelerate your presence on the map so that you can be even more annoying. Fast forward, cut this, cut this. So you forced them bottom, and I told you to go immediately top. That was the idea behind this. Same idea as before.
I feel like bots is like great on Void a lot.
Yes.
All the time.
By the way, here's where jungle camps come into play. Just now, the Disruptor and Ogre killed a creep wave when you finished this creep wave. So you're now, after you finish this creep wave, deciding whether or not you go for this next creep wave. But since the guys that kill you just left your vision, the jungle camps are the time that you take to decide what you're doing next. So this is like a moratorium of like, hey, let's wait and see what we're going to do in the meantime. So we walk over here, we put it on your vision, we're not sure what we're going to do. We see Disruptor walk into the tower, and we're like, okay, go back to lane. See? Like, we got the vision. Disruptor's a noob. In my bracket, this would never happen. And this is why the information game is so important. Disruptor's not supposed to show himself there. And I told you this creep wave in tower. Guess what? You got the creep wave and they chased you. What are they going to do again? They're like, this Void Spirit's not supposed to push this wave. This Razor's nuts. Overextends. Dies for it. Are we seeing a pattern?
They react to my map movements, and that causes plays to happen with my team.
And it causes your team to be making plays, and not only that, but it causes the opponent to fuck up.
Yeah.
That is the biggest thing, man. In your bracket, the fuck-ups are going to happen way more often than anything else. Like, people may say this Razor's throwing, like, your coachee here got handed this game. If you guys behave this quickly, it happens all the time in my educational Smurf games back when I played, like, 1K, 2K games. People just walk into me and die. And I'm like, okay. And it's because I'm moving on the map faster than they are. That's it. Like, I'm telling you, like, the decisions you're making are based on what I see on the map and telling you what to do with it. And even though you're not, like, mechanically playing it perfectly, you're causing the opponent to fuck up a bunch of times. So we tell you to now reset because you had to go back to base, push bottom, and the process begins again. This creep camp's like a moratorium again. You're just waiting. You don't look at the map. We don't really know what's going on here. We don't feel safe to go for this wave. You even said yourself it feels a bit dangerous, but now we see people, so we can go back. And this whole time, the bots allow us to farm while also pushing waves. So the reason why I told you to TP to your Spectre here was that you had a bunch of vision top, and your Spectre did not have Haunt. So we cleared the wave bottom, and we have an opportunity to join our team here. So every time you clear a wave, it's an opportunity to potentially join your team. Because it's like, okay, I cleared this wave. I can now go potentially join a fight. So we're looking at the map right now, and I'm just breaking down my decision for you. You could go mid, but if you go mid and the opponent TP's top and ganks your Spectre, he's kind of fucked. So I'll always lean towards going towards your carry in this spot. Like babysitting your carry who's like playing really far up on the map. See this? So like if this guy had Haunt, I would have TP'd mid. But since he doesn't, I TP to him. And I'm just saying, you're not going to kill my Spectre. Like, that's what I'm saying by this TP. So you TP top. We don't go BKB because, for other people to know, we don't go BKB because even though he might die to Disruptor, he'll die to PA in like 2 hits if he doesn't go armor. So we need some armor items.
Also,
notice how you force another reaction.
Yeah.
And then you just walk away. Very cool. TP bottom. Forced him to come top. Oh, look at that. Ogre TP'd bottom. Now we're going to run back top. And we're going to kill somebody. Oh, look. They're all separated on the map because one of them's constantly chasing you. Oh, now Ogre's alone. And I said, you don't have to kill this guy. Just don't let him push the creep wave. So this was a moment in the game where it's really important for people. So after you killed this Legion mid, I told you to run back bottom. And it's not because you want to kill people. It's for the same reason that the Razor's been chasing you all game. Is he sees a hero clearing a wave and you're not supposed to be able to. So when you're Void, the same reason that you killed the Disruptor top when he was farming by himself at like 7 minutes into the game is the same reason you're running at this Ogre. You don't have to kill this guy. If you use 2 spells on the creep wave and hit him with them, he's going to run away from you. That's what's going to happen. He's going to run away from you. But the only exception would be is if like all 4 of his teammates are sitting behind him. But the thing is, you forced 2 TPs top, you just killed somebody, So if we have really high map level awareness, you know that there's maximum one hero with this guy. Maximum. And it's like this guy. That's the only guy that could possibly be here. So that's why running here is now so powerful, because you have TP'd away from the opponent whenever they go somewhere. So your TP cooldown is even shorter than theirs. So like the guy that chased you has a longer cooldown TP than you do. Or this guy's TPing somewhere else. But this guy who chased you, look at, right? So I'm trying to tell you why this works, right? So monitoring TP cooldowns when you're doing this, that's like the 10th step in the equation, all right? So, that's like number way down the road. So you're pushing waves with the option to join fights. We do it again. Shocker, the opponent's taking some random ass fight with unfavorable numbers. This shit ain't coincidence. So right here, here's what I see. A top lane, are we getting any objectives top? Like, let's look at the map real quick, right? So, like, from your perspective, the creep wave that you would use to push this tower is really far away. Right? So we're not going to take any objective in the top lane between the time that these guys come back to life. Whenever you can recognize that there's a lane that you are next to that you cannot take an objective in, that's when you cut creeps. So what happens is you cut these creeps and you say, oh, so I cleared this wave now. So this is going to set this lane to be pushed like 2 minutes from now because you did this. Okay? Because it doesn't have immediate effect, right? The wave's back here. If this wave was shoving into you, it's actually going to push in the next like 30 seconds because this lane's pushing. If this wave was pushing, it would have to do like a rubber band effect where it does this. You know what I mean? So... But because you do this, you're setting up this wave to be pushed later. That's the emphasis. When you cut the creep wave, it's setting it up to be pushed later. So then you leave. The cool thing is, you've done every obligation that your team needs to do to this wave for the next minute. You're out of here. You're done here, right? That's because you cut this wave. You're done here. So that allows you to go somewhere else and you don't care. So now I tell you to TP bottom. And clear this wave too. And now, by the time the opponent's alive, dude, look at their map. Look at their map, dude.
Right. They're in their base.
Top lane pushed in, mid lane pushed in, bottom lane's coming in. Dude, this shit sucks. All right? Like, they can't do anything. And it's because the time that they were dead, you cut the wave next to you and then TP to the other one. The emphasis that we got to see from a mid laner is that you are usually the guy that dictates map movements. Okay, because you're the guy that not only clears waves, like carry clears more waves than kills people, but the mid laner clears like the second most waves, usually. Okay, like usually you clear a little bit less than the carry, but you're also the guy that the opponent has to react to. They're scared of. They want to kill you. They don't want you to kill them. So every little wave you push on the map, the opponent's like, yeah. You know, like either they're scared of you or they try to kill you. There's no, like, have you noticed a time where you pushed a wave and the enemy team just didn't do anything? Like they
Strangely
did
not. Sometimes in this bracket they don't. You just hit towers for free.
Yeah,
they did almost every time.
That's the funny part is if they don't do anything, you literally just kill the tower. So
yeah,
it's not like if the opponents are low skill, it's not like the alternative for you is exactly complicated. You just go kill the tower. But every time they've reacted to you, it's caused something, right? You force somebody top, then you force somebody bottom, then your team gets a favorable fight mid. It happens all the time in my bracket. It's like whatever team is doing this quicker than the other. And a lot of times the drafts that win, and why we can tell drafts are going to win, is because we envision both teams trying to push lanes, and one team just does it way better. And we're like, oh, that team's probably going to win. And a lot of it's like hero matchups. Like Razor isn't good at stopping you from pushing waves. Right? Because you can just astral step through the wave and get out. But Razor's really good at stopping a hero like Bristleback from pushing waves. Because if Bristle tries to walk up and push the wave, he just gets linked and sucked for damage. And then maybe he's quilling him, but that's not that great, right? It's like these melee range right clickers like Bristle, they can't clear waves when they're dealing with Razor. So a lot of hero matchups in the game are dictated by both heroes try to clear a wave and what happens. So it's like, yes, Razor's annoying against your hero in lane because you don't have the levels in your nukes to clear the wave. But later on in the game, Void Spirit's really good against Razor. And the only information you need to tell you who counters who in a lot of these situations, sometimes it comes down to like who kills who, but a lot of times it's just who stops the other from clearing waves. You see that, right? Like how obvious this is when you play this game out? Like Razor was really scary to you for like the first 12 minutes, right? Later on in the game, did you give a shit about Razor? Like when did Razor cause you problems?
If you hadn't have said this was a bad matchup, I probably would have played aggressively on this guy, like way more than you told me to do. And I'm curious what would have happened if he wasn't dead at the first wave.
So what would happen at the first wave is you're supposed to defensively aggro really hard. And if he links you, you give him like 12 damage or something. You know? And what's going to happen is your entire process should be about the same, but your goal would be to pull the creeps into your tower so that it would push.
Okay.
But that's why the block is so important. Because if the lane starts on his hill, you can't do that. But if the lane starts on your hill, that's like really easy, right? You just like drag them once or twice and they're in your tower. So that's why in bad matchups, it's like so important to get a good block.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So my goal for you is that I can show, even with massive ups, you don't need clean execution. If you play the map like a 9K, you will win most of your games. That is like, obviously for you, you're not going to win every game I try to do this with you, but you will win most of your games if you can play like this, even if you up. Maybe I'm giving you a bit of a cheat code here where I tell you Razor's a bad matchup in the lane, but he's a good matchup later, you know? My goal is that you understand what are the metrics for a good or a bad matchup, right? And so you play it out and you're like, oh, I tried to push the wave against this guy and he just killed me. Or like, I tried to push the wave and he zoned me out. And you'll realize what dictates a good or bad matchup. Do you feel like you got something out of this? Or is this one of those situations where you're going to have to like watch it back just like you were watching the game of somebody else playing? Like, how does this feel from your perspective? I don't actually know. Because you're like,
I think
information overload for sure. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think I had a little bit of a eureka moment in that people always say that like this hero counters this hero at all phases of the game. And I was like, I didn't really understand that. But so in this situation, Razor counters me in the laning phase, but in the mid and late game phase, I'm okay against him. He doesn't counter me because I can push lanes without being punished. And that's one of the defining characteristics of being countered, air quotes, right?
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Okay. Then yeah, that's what I learned right now, but I need to absorb all this way more.
Okay, so my goal for this is that you're going to learn some new heroes, and then because you're learning new heroes, I'll also be able to do other heroes with this. So I want to use the textbook heroes that I think are best for people to climb with. We started with Void Spirit for you because that was your most played hero, but we had talked a bit about Lena. I actually want your hero to be Leshrac. So the beauty of Leshrac is you can shove lanes into people's towers, and if they're missing, you just back off. If they're showing somewhere else, you kill their tower instantly. You know, it's like instead of like hitting it for 20, 30 seconds, you kill it in one Diabolic Edict. That's the difference. And he's also one of my favorite heroes. So I want you to play at least 50 games of Leshrac before you report back to me. So let me know when that happens.
Okay.
If it, honestly, the shorter amount of time it takes, the better, because that means you're also putting more games in, but, don't inconvenience your normal life in order to do it. So, okay, man. We also, I think, have a regular coaching session next week anyway, so maybe you can have some Leshrac games for me to watch. So
yeah, I'll play it exclusively pretty much, unless it's banned.
Sounds good, man. Sweet. See you later.
See ya.
If you liked this video, please like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, all that shenanigans, because at the end of the day, YouTube does care about that. You may not care about it, I may not care about it, but the YouTube algorithm does. So please do.